Thank you, Peg, and thank all of you very much. Are you having a great day so far today? Terrific. Well, I know you've heard of... And it still hasn't happened. Hey, Ramhead, come on over here and give your old man a hug. I walked over to the bed where Pop lay, tubes running out of him, connected to the numerous medications that were keeping him alive and somewhat comfortable. He was bald now from the chemo, but his face belied the battle that was raging inside of him. His smile, his beautiful everyman smile, the one the world had adored for over half a century, was still in place. Cancer has to be one of the toughest ways to go. I knew that. I'd lost my mother to it 13 years before. But you'd never have known it from Pop. Through it all, I never heard him complain once. All he cared about, his only concern during the final days, was for us, his family. It had been much the same way with my mom, a tough and selfless woman. She'd been told she'd be lucky to live till September at the outside, but she'd wanted more than anything to celebrate one last Christmas, her favorite holiday, with her family, and that's what she did. She passed the day after. She was gone now, soon they both would be. And as I did with her, I sat with Pop for the following months and replayed all the movies in my head, all the good times, all the bad, like I was in some huge dream theater. I let that ultimate gift we humans have been bequeathed do its thing. I let the memories open up and let the film roll. After Pop left, I realized pretty quickly that I'd lost my best friend. But it took quite some time to come to terms with the fact that I lost my father. You know, we fished together in Alaska, we played golf together at Pebble Beach. However, fishing with Pop was not fishing. Fishing with Pop was the rest of us fishing while he cleaned his tackle box or straightened the line, you know, his line and got all the knots out of the fly. Golfing with Pop was a whole other thing. As a matter of fact, Pop, one of the disappointments I think he had in his life was the fact that he never made the cut at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, despite trying for 35 years straight. I mean, this was Jack Lemmon, and this was also Jack Lemmon in his passing. He did everything with great dignity. He raised the bar wherever he went, and even in his final days, as you heard me just say, this was a guy who wasn't thinking about himself. This was a guy who never once fell into the pit of self-indulgence. This was a guy who was thinking about us. I mean, when the nurses would come in to poke him and prod him and this and that, the first thing he'd do is turn to him and say, "Hi, you want to sneak a peek at Stiffy?" There was always a joke. There was always, you know, two Irish guys walk out of a bar. Hey, it could happen. Or his very favorite imitation of his very dearest friend, Walter Matthau, from the wonderful film they did together, not The Odd Couple, yes, The Odd Couple. When Matthau turns to him and says, "I wake up in the morning, there's little notes on my pillow. Save a round of cornflakes, F you." Took me 3 hours to figure out that F you meant Felix Unger. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. But nothing lasts forever, and especially not book tours. And as the tour wound down, Pop slipped away again. And again, there was the loss and the loneliness. And then, just then, a leprechaun entered my life, stuck her head around the corner, and said, "Chris Lemmon, I'm Mary Murphy." And the American Cancer Society entered my life. It seemed very appropriate. I was able to participate, I was able to contribute, I was able to do something about this dreadful disease that stole both my parents from me, a disease that affects pretty much every single person on the face of this earth. I was able to get my revenge on cancer. I can't tell you how good that felt and how rewarding this last year and a half has been. And these small contributions that dear Jean and I have been able to make, they are so rewarding to us. It gives me such great joy to come here today and to applaud all of you very, very special people, because what you do, day in and day out, is a miracle. It's a miracle. You are in the business of saving lives. And after a while, you might forget that. Well, guess what? I'm here to remind you. Just like a doctor whose decisions could save a dozen people in a day, or a research scientist whose work could save countless thousands, over the course of its history, the society that you represent has saved countless priceless souls. And every day, this society moves us closer to its ultimate goal, that one day our children will be able to say, "I remember when," instead of saying goodbye. 20 years ago, my mother died of colon cancer. If only we'd known then what we know now, she'd still be here. She'd be able to be with her grandchildren. She'd be able to know her grandchildren. A stroll in the park with my little duckies. My mom loved saying that, and loved being in New York and walking through Central Park on a beautiful spring day in 1988, accompanied by her two little duckies, as she called my sister Stephanie and me. I hadn't seen her this happy in a while, and even though she'd always kept on her game face, and would until the end, today she was beaming. Certainly no one seeing us that day would have known that our destination was the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And here she was on this sunny day in New York, 62-year-old Emmy-nominated actress Cynthia Stone, walking through Central Park with her two little duckies. Only one thing was wrong. She was dying of cancer. I happened to be with her on the visit to her doctor a year before, when he told her that the stacked blood work had come back with disappointing results. I knew the news had hit her hard, but she did not let slip any indication of fear or shock. She wouldn't do that in front of her child. Showing anything less than absolute strength was not an option for her. Actually, the struggle would begin 2 years earlier, when during a routine operation, the doctors found that she had colon cancer and that it had already metastasized to the surrounding organs. Now, 2 years later, here was Mom, heading back to the hospital, ready to fight one last battle, but knowing in her heart that this would probably be the last spring day she'd have to walk through Central Park. On Christmas Eve, her entire family gathered at her house in Miami, where she'd insisted on being for her final days. As we sat at the dinner table, Bud, her husband, brought her out of the bedroom to tearful applause. She had cheated the Grim Reaper by 3 months, and she'd managed to remain strikingly beautiful through it all. I remember she looked at each one of us for a long moment, her eyes still alert, still aware, and then she took her husband's hand, smiled one last elegant smile, and went back into the bedroom. She fell asleep that night and never woke again. 2 days later, she was gone. Though she was taken from us at a criminally early age, I thank God she was here long enough to meet my bride, Gina. I was a lemon, after all, and would need careful looking after. I just wish she could have met her grandchildren. Mom was laid to rest in Peoria. At her funeral, I remember seeing Pop cry, and it struck me at that moment that though I'd seen him do that very thing numerous times on film, I'd never seen him cry in real life. Sometimes the picture of those affected by cancer gets so large that we lose scope of it. It's up to all of us here today to never let the world forget that every life lost to cancer isn't a statistic. It's a human being. It's a brother, or a sister, or a father, or a mother. My mother's second husband, actor Cliff Robertson, just lost his daughter Heather to cancer. She was 38. A family in our neighborhood, the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, just lost their son to cancer. He was 11. I come here today to applaud you, to thank you, and to remind all of you that what you do is special. And so as my mom used to say, my dear people, keep that first team in there, because come hell or high water, we will have our revenge on cancer.